Welcome to the Aligned and Amplified podcast, where we sit down with entrepreneurs, consultants, coaches, and business leaders to explore what's actually working in business today. Each episode pulls back the curtain on the strategies, lessons, challenges, and breakthroughs that shape successful businesses, helping you gain insights you can apply to your own journey. I'm your host, Jaime Ellithorpe, founder of 540 Strategies. Today, I'm joined by Bob McKay, and I'm excited to dive into his story, what he's building, and the lessons he's learned along the way. Welcome to the show, Bob.
Hi, great to have you. Great to be a part of this, Jamie. Thank you for having me, and looking forward to this.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's get started by telling the audience a little bit about yourself, your business, and who you help.
Sure thing. My name is Bob McKay. I'm a founder of Skyward Sparks. I help founder-led businesses make financially grounded decisions around cash, profitability, growth, expansion, and capital. And yes, my AI did write that for me.
I love it. I love it. Well, you're a tech guy for sure. So tell us what originally inspired you to start your business?
So, and this is a story in and of itself, but effectively, if we're cutting to the near the end of my time in corporate America story, uh, I had been on with a PE backed company. I had helped a small family office sell to PE, and I had stayed on as their acting CFO. And one thing that I remember fairly clearly, and I had stayed on mainly because as a transitional CFO anyway, I saw PE in a company that I had been working with for about 5 years. Then really cutting costs, really cutting personnel, salaries, benefits wherever they could. Is mostly cash generation, and it got to the point where I decided to go ahead and hang up my own shingle and go out on my own. I had seen various founders who I had helped before uh, cut not that great a deal with private equity whenever they sold. I was a part of a few M&A transactions with that, and it's nothing wrong with private equity. It's just private equity has an agenda. Generally, they want to come in, they want to take their investors' capital, reinvest it, and grow it as quickly as possible. But sometimes with the small business owner has been lovingly nurturing something along the staff is basically family, and sometimes the magic and the white glove that has been sold to PE starts to vanish just a little bit under corporate scrutiny and private equity pressure. So I decided to start my own little boutique CFO firm to kind of help the small business owners along, the small business owners that may or may not have the guidance that these small business owners had, and may need to kind of think things out methodically on their own career trajectory, their own corporate path of growing their own business, and how to get them from A to B, whether that B is selling to private equity or turning it into a cash machine where they are not necessarily working 9 to 5 ever again, or at all if they want to. And that's my heart. My heart originally came from healthcare for this, basically the grandparent standard. What I want my grandparents to receive this kind of healthcare and this kind of treatment, the same kind of way as it is kind of how I have it for these businesses. How would I want to be treated by a consulting CFO, and what things would I want to know?
So you just
I know that's a long-winded answer, but
No, it was perfect. You actually shared some things that I think would perk up the ears of our audience, like how to get from A to B, how to work less in the business, or maybe not even work in the business at all. So please go a little deeper and share with us what is it that you've learned about growing businesses and serving your clients that you could share with us.
uh, a couple of things that I've learned, and there are particular types of clients and particular types of business owners, but almost all entrepreneurs are generally one way. They have a brain that's going 50 billion miles per hour. They have dreams. They have things that they want to work on. And if they don't watch out, and this is a cliche, and I'm just going to say it, they will find themselves working in their business rather than on it. And that's a massive cliche in the industry, but it's true. I've seen business owners who will get so deep into the weeds that they can't see the forest for the trees. For example, I have a client who um, runs a chain of restaurants. And one of the things he was running into was the fact that, oh man, I got to be at all these individual restaurants. I got to check it out. I got to make sure everything's going well. And I actually sat down with him and I basically said, you understand that you're basically running yourself ragged. Yeah, but I can't really rely on anything. I'm like, okay, well, you need to pull in some lieutenants. These lieutenants will then go monitor the stores in your area and report back up to you. And I reasoned it back to him because I asked him, what are the major objectives that you want to accomplish over the next 90 days? And if you accomplished these, it would set your business on the right path. And he said, well, I'm really looking at some different expansion options. I have these menu items that I want to create. And I'm like, okay, how much time are you spending doing all that? Well, not as much as I should. There's your problem. You need to start thinking once you are now at the level where you need to start thinking about a franchise operator, not necessarily an individualized business operator. And that means you have to set up at levels of hierarchy and people who report up to you and things that you don't necessarily handle by yourself so that you're able to spend more time working on your business direction and your vision. The entrepreneurial operating system is something I highly subscribe to. It casts a dual kind of role. There is a visionary, and then there is an integrator. The visionary is the one who dreams the dreams that makes the chocolate and makes the music. If we're going to go to the Willy Wonka effect, um, I'm the integrator. I'm like the chief Oompa Loompa who helps try to drive the rest of the business with the rest of the Oompa Loompas. If I can make that analogy, I may not be in the wheel in there churning the cogs with the rest of the other Oompa Loompas, but I'm at least helping advise the Willy Wonkas how their Oompa Loompas should be acting and how their business should be running.
Perfect. So whether you're
I hate using that analogy, but it's one of the better ones that I usually come up with.
Absolutely. So whether you're a Willy Wonka or an Oompa Loompa leader, there's always things that are changing and evolving in the world that is always affecting business. So I'm curious to get your take over the last 12 months. What have you been surprised about in business or even in your own business when it takes to growing businesses today?
Uh, when I first started, and this feeds into the last 12 months, I underestimated the importance of networking, and this is something that I had not done as much in my corporate life, and it burned me at the very beginning of this whole process. I still had a network, but it was not the right kind of network to build a business around. So, learning all of that, and then realizing how much of an impact AI can make on my business, and also how it can help with other businesses. And before anybody tunes out and says, "Oh, AI, oh, I don't like that, I don't do that." AI is a tool just like any other tool, just like a calculator. You have to have the skills to understand how it works and how to get the best out of it. If you're using AI as a tool and not a full person replacement, but as a tool to help that person achieve an even greater standard and be able to handle even more work, then if you're not doing that, then something's wrong. I see a lot of stuff in corporate America right now where they're trying to replace employees with AI completely. And while that can be true to some extent, a lot of the articles I'm reading now are saying they made a grave miscalculation because of the expense it takes to run AI without the correct AI knowledge base. And I believe that they were using it in the same way that personal computers were probably thought of back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Um, oh, we can replace Brenda because she does only the spreadsheets. Well, no, you need somebody who operates the machine, who understands the spreadsheets. And yes, you can teach the AI spreadsheets, but once you've eliminated a lot of the menial work, there's still the knowledge based work that has to happen. And that's something that I think that is going to be catching up fairly soon here. I know the job market doesn't necessarily reflect that, and it probably won't reflect it for at least another year or so. But I think there's going to be a bit more of a balancing act, especially as AI becomes more prevalent as technology increases. But we are coming to a point in time where that the replacement might happen, but I don't think it's anytime soon, especially with the cost of computing power.
So you picked a topic where people have probably had to do a lot of thinking about and forming opinions about. So I'm curious, whether it's AI or something else, what is something that you've had to change your mind about recently in business?
I had to change my mind about how much AI could actually do for me. And I also had to change my mind about how I utilize AI myself and what I'm not utilizing and how much busy work that I've done. So the other side that I've also realized is that operating in a complete vacuum with just AI is not healthy. So you want to make sure that you're maintaining your networking conversations. You want to make sure you're maintaining your personal conversations, and you want to also be getting yourself out there. That's one of the things I've massively changed is I just stopped having AI write all of my LinkedIn and other posts that I was doing because it was doing the majority of my LinkedIn posting. And I would edit through and review through and do all that other stuff, but one thing is it just doesn't sound as authentic. And I think that that's one thing that the market has definitely soured on is the influx of crap, the influx of useless corporate speak marketing, which is something I'm trying to cut through. And I think and I just implemented this too, so I can't speak to the full change, but I think it's going to be very beneficial. Actually speaking to a camera and being yourself is way more valuable and gives you way more credibility than 50 billion posts generated by an AI.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that because it's a great transition to the next question, because I think so many people think that AI was going to make their business so much easier and maybe they could take their hands off the wheel, so to speak, and let AI drive it. So with that being said, what part of your business do you feel like requires your most attention or focus on right now?
Uh, Speaking back to what you said before, where business owners can take their hands off the wheel, they can to an extent. Um, there are things that business owners are good at and things that business owners are not good at. That could be one business owner is great at accounting, so they don't need a CFO or an accountant. One business owner may be great at sales and marketing, but they're terrible at their accounting or they're terrible at their at whatever else. AI helps to supplement that. Now, back to what you were saying, the one aspect that I've found that it's helped me with, and what I have to spend the majority of my time on, is decision matrix work and decision work. I call them thinking blocks. So when I have a client, not only am I producing material and reviewing all their financials, I sit and individually think about them on either a daily, weekly, generalized basis so that I can kind of think about, okay, this is where they're at. This is the goals that they've told me about. And generally, if, okay, I'm checking boxes, is anything out of the ordinary here? Do I need to be thinking about the next thing? And I build projections for them. Are they on track for all this? Are their KPIs matching up? Are they on track to where they want to go? Great. Then I challenge them a little bit further and I say, what are initiatives you want to accomplish? And then I help them think through a lot of that. So I spend decision and thinking and reasoning time with my clients fairly consistently.
I love that when you mentioned the decision matrix too, because I think it provides stability and certainty to a business. I know myself personally, I've sat in indecision before and it felt very, very unclear and unstable. So you were talking about the decision matrix, and I love that because I think it provides certainty or the feeling of stability and certainty nonetheless. So my next question is, when you're looking out into the world, what do you feel is the most uncertain right now as you're looking out into the future?
Uh, some people would say the economy. Some people would say what's going on with the Middle East is going to affect gas prices, which is going to affect everything. I still think that there's still an uncertainty around AI because while some people are understanding where it's going, I think it's creating too many pivots up and down of we need more people, we need less people, we need more people. AI can do way more, and the technology race has gotten so extreme now that and it's technology only accelerates as we go on in history. So ever since the kind of moon landing, we've kind of accelerated, and we hit acceleration points pretty much continuously as we go. And this is a concept that I picked up from YouTube, so please bear with me on that. But I think that we're going at such a breakneck pace on the technology side now that one worry that I have is that technology will continue to either outstrip the normal business operations, or it won't ever come back into a parallel again, or there's going to be people who are always continuously ahead because they're on the cutting edge and they're adopting everything, and then you're always going to have the business owners behind that just are slow adopters. So you got the early adopter matrix and the bell curve. What I'm worried about is that the early adopters, even if the tech is slam dunk amazing, are going to kind of shrink this little bell curve over to where there's less successful people over here on the other side, and there's more successful people on the adoption side. That's one thing I have a concern about.
Well, it sounds like to me, in your own business anyway, you're definitely on the forefront because you've embraced AI and you're using it intelligently in your business. But I'm just curious, what do you think is going to be the most important thing to bridge the gap in your own business between where you are today and where you'd like to take your company into the future?
That's kind of a loaded question. First off, I don't feel like I'm on the forefront of AI. Not even close. For forefront of AI are people over here that are actually building the AI, and the people who are adopting immediately over here. I would not consider myself to be in the adoption category. I would say I'm probably in the middle to the right, maybe. I haven't looked at a good enough spread on that. What I myself am doing is I'm stepping up a bit more on the coding side of things. A lot of tools have flooded the market recently with regards to everything being, oh, I've attached AI to this, I've attached AI to that. And all of that's great. But I think that one of the interesting things that's occurred is because coding has become so much easier with Claude or ChatGPT or whichever one you use. I'm not going to be a snob of it because there are people who are real snobs about it sometimes, and they have their points and they have their counterpoints. And I try not to be, but then again, I might come off snobbish, so I apologize to people. But I think where I want to go directionally is I want to be way more authentic in my outreach, in my marketing, in my sales, especially on what I generate online. Now, if I'm in person, you're getting authentic Bob. You're getting shenanigans Bob. You're getting Bob who cracks jokes and talks about Ghostbusters and old movies and all this other stuff. I want to convey that out to the audience, and I think that that's going to be what wins the day. And I'm probably behind on it, but I definitely am trying to catch up. What I think is going to also benefit me in my business is learning to code / also utilizing the coding tools to build my own tools. And what I mean by that is there are software tools that are out there that are reasonably priced, and it's better to utilize those. And it's a cost analysis in my mind. So for instance, if you have something, say for instance, you have widget A, and widget A is a CRM that costs $500 a month. Well, widget B does something very grossly similar, but it's $50 a month. Now, cost benefit wise, do I want to use widget A or widget B? And or are there features of widget A that I can program into widget B, or use a side app in widget B to make it work? Or do I code my own proprietary thing for my clients and own the tech and own the way it's supposed to work, and just deal with the headache of building it myself, maintaining it myself, etc., but get exactly what I need for my business out of it? And I think the barrier to entry of businesses getting tailored for them software is starting to slip. And I think that if you have the ability, you should be going and coding some of your own stuff. If not that, you should be cobbling together an alternative that works within your budget and making the best of it. And I can't emphasize enough how much planning you want to put into that. And again, AI is great to help you with planning, but I am not a coding guy. I'm not a coding expert, so don't take this at full face value, because I know there's a lot of developers who will probably look at this and go, "Yeah, but what about this?" But yeah, people don't think about this, and they don't. It's slop code. It's vibe coding and all this other stuff, and that's fine. But I think we're coming to the point where customizing it and setting it for yourself and your own business needs is going to be more important.
Well, I'm super impressed. I still think, looking at the general small business landscape anyway, you're definitely on the forefront compared to a lot of businesses who haven't even touched AI yet. So I'm very impressed with your coding. So you're
Oh,
definitely on the back
uh,
end
and
of
and
AI.
I
Sure.
and I need to. I'm sorry to interrupt you. And I need to say, I'm not coding a thing right now. I'm trying to learn what my AI is doing so
I
that
love
I'm not being caught by surprise.
it. Yeah.
And I highly recommend that people learn to code as well, because just having AI generate it for you is not good enough. It's going to get you to a certain point, but then you have to understand what it's doing.
Yes, yes. Well, in the talk about AI, I think you mentioned something extremely important that I totally resonate with is authenticity. So I'd like to shift over to being more authentic with how you're communicating about your business. So I'm curious to know, for you personally, what are you hoping that your messaging content and your visibility efforts are currently communicating, whether you're using AI or not, or you're being authentic Bob in a local networking event? What are you hoping that people are getting from that?
A couple of things. One, you want competency to come through. You want someone to understand and say, okay, he sounds like he knows what he's talking about. I want a level of trust to also come through. That I'm not just some fly by night shyster that's going to, oh, yoink, take your money and give you some mediocre product and call it a day. Um, I also want it to come through that I care, because what I try to adopt first, and I set these I I called them non-negotiables. They were kind of words to live by type of thing, and I need to revisit them because it's been a little bit since I've looked at them. But one of them is listen first and listen first and respond accordingly. And I actually stole that from my one of my last stops. It was one of the better core values that they had. Core values. There we go. It was one of the better core values that I took out of that, because you may have noticed on this that I'll ramble on and on and on, but um, when I think about it, it's better to stop and listen to what the client is telling you, because you never know what you're going to hear from it. For instance, I had a client one day who was just telling me, "Oh man, I'm just so I'm so done with my financials. I don't get it. This and that, and I don't, and it's just things are just so hard right now." And I'm like, okay, well, what do you mean by that? Well, I'm not sleeping very well, and I'm worried about this coming up, and I'm not sure we're going to hit our numbers here. Okay, why are you not going to hit your numbers? Let's dissect. Let's go a little bit deeper here. What is really the fear that you're up against? It's not really about your financials. It's more about your sales, or it's more about, I don't know if I'm going to have enough cash to meet payroll. Okay, well, let's take a look. Have you done a cash flow for yourself? Have you mapped this out over at least a month to a 13-week period of what kind of cash you're going to need based on estimations? No, I've never done that. Okay, well, let's just do a high level one right now. What's your inflows and outflows? This. Okay, what of that can you stretch, if anything, in order to kind of make the math and the puzzle pieces work? And after sitting down with a session with the guy, it actually benefited him because he understood kind of what I was getting at. And and I said, don't start with 13 weeks, start with 4, because 4 gets you to the end of the month, and that at least tells you where you're supposed to be. Then add on to 8, then add on to 13. And any CFO worth of salt, if they have a 13-week cash flow, can understand whether there's trouble coming and go plug that cash hole with either debt, equity, or something else.
You know, that makes sense. Well, you've talked a lot about the problems that a lot of your clients are facing in business. So I'm curious to ask you, if someone were to join your company today, what would you tell them is going really well right now?
What's going really well right now is that I feel like we're in a very good groove. We have a number of new clients that are coming on, a lot of excitement, and a lot of different opportunities and different perspectives to look at that are not necessarily the norm. Because I can come in there and I can do your books and I can do your bookkeeping for you, or I can help you with your tax side of things. But what about the complicated issues, like, say for instance, oh, I have a beneficial trust for my son, and I also have this business, but I also am funneling it back through this C corp and connecting the different puzzle pieces to understand, man, you have this way over engineered, or hey, maybe there's a problem here that we need to take a look at, and is this really the right way of setting it up? And then kind of re-gerrymandering it around legally, and with making sure you're not trying to abscond with any assets, or have any sorry, edit that part, legally slash ethically, in order to actually make your life easier, make you have get you let you have some tax savings off of it, and maybe actually reorganize it to where it's not just how your business is structured, but how you're running your business as well. And that's an operation. It's not just a financial challenge, it's also an operational challenge. It could be a partial marketing challenge. And I'm very blessed that I have a lot of good partners in the area for marketing and bookkeeping and taxes, because again, I can do it, but there are better people out there that are experts that just dedicate to that craft. And it's great to be able to recommend those people as well, and to bring other people into the equation. And I think eventually here, and I'm stealing something from somebody, and she knows who she is, by the way. Eventually, there's going to be a time where I think fractionals will make up a majority of the C-suite, especially for small businesses. As long as we can, as long as we as fractionals can make it affordable for our clients and actually provide the value and be able to grow the business the way it's supposed to be grown, and in accordance with how the owner envisions the business going.
Well, you've provided so many great nuggets and tidbits that I think our audience might need to go back and listen a few times. But as we start to wind down our time together, I would love to hear about one piece of advice that you would love to go back and give yourself when you first started your business, based on everything that you've come to learn and experience today. What would you go back and tell yourself if you could offer one piece of sage advice?
If I could offer one piece of sage advice, it would be, don't over engineer a problem, or a solution that makes it into more of a problem. For example, if don't go buying excess software, don't go buying over engineered things, don't over hire before you actually really need it. And it's one of those things of, hindsight is 2020. And there are great people to hire out there. There are great software tools, but do you really need that do you really need those people yet? Do you really need those tools yet? And are you financially sound in order to do it? And this may sound awful coming from a CFO, but I fell into a partial trap of over engineering, and that I tend to overthink things sometimes too. And one thing I've had to tell myself is, okay, let's take a step back. Am I over exasperating a problem, or am I creating a new one? One that's outside from me though is, try not to let a fire drill dictate how your company is going to operate the rest of the week, month, or year. Fire drills, and when I say a fire drill, I mean something that comes across your desk that seems massively urgent and important, and could impact, say, a key customer. You want to address that. You want to give it your attention, but don't pivot your entire strategy just because of that. Don't pivot your entire strategy around one piece of software, one piece of advice. Think things through, cobble it all together, seek multiple forms of counsel, and from there, make the best educated decision that you can, whether that's with a consultant advising you, or, I'm going to say, also, if in prayer and also in discernment. And I know we're touching religion in there too, but it's important.
This has been an amazing conversation, Bob, and I'm so glad that you joined us. So, a couple of closing thoughts. What's next for you? How can people find you, connect with you, and learn more about your work and what you're doing?
So what's next for me is my son tried to come in here and I think he was having a tough time. So I'm going to go deal with that. I'm going to continue to grow and continue to push content out the door. How people can find me, just kind of a general aside. If you're facing a meaningful financial decision and the information you already have isn't helping you decide, feel free to reach out to me. You can reach out to me via, I think there's going to be a link in the description, possibly. I'm not sure. Or you can reach out to me via skywardsparks.com. SKY S Skyward SKYWRARDSPARKS.com. Yay, I can spell.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to enlighten our audience and give them some really great advice on how to grow their business. And I appreciate you taking the time to be on the show.
Not a promise, Jamie. Thank you for having me.